you can start your own Facebook group. Facebook groups are pretty big these days, and it allows you to form a community of people that are interested in what you do, and you can also use that as a selling channel as well.
Many people are mentioning is building a community, and that is important, especially around the thing that you are selling in that niche. So have you done it, and how practically do you do it?
I do it for every single brand that I have or every single initiative that I'm passionate about. So the second part, to elaborate, I read 6 to 8 books a month, whether audiobooks, ebooks. So I'm a huge reader. So I created I want to read with other people. So I'll create an entrepreneurs book club. We'll have a Facebook group. We'll have an Instagram. We'll have all this stuff. We'll have a local meetup. So I'm really, for everything that I do, I build a meetup group locally. I build a Facebook group community. I build a Telegram chat, a WhatsApp chat, and just constantly use it as a platform to communicate and educate in my products, sell my products. Obviously in groups, you can't be as salesy because that's not what people go to groups for, but you start building relationships to where the person wants to hear what you have to sell.
Built a Amazon community called FBA Mastermind, and actually sold it like 6 months later. And the main way I did it was, first and foremost, get within the community, do a bunch of webinars, create an email list, write a blog, all the kind of typical things, and just really do a good job of reaching out in the community, figuring out who's who, reaching out to them, figuring out what their specialty is, complementing their specialty, and getting ingratiated within the group. So when you do launch a community and say, hey, I have a private community, it's $20 a month to talk about this specific subject. I'm going to organize it in this way. I know there's a bunch of Facebook groups where people are talking about Amazon, but they're kind of, they lose a lot of value over time, because as more and more beginners come in, they start asking the same questions over and over again, where we're going to have a database of all the questions. If anybody asks a question, it's going to get answered 10 times, and it's searchable, so they never have to answer that question ever again. And through my value proposition of a more organized community, through my influence of them trusting me and seeing me on a bunch of different platforms, they trusted me. They trusted what I was doing, and they liked my value proposition. It's easy enough to build a community. And I think the same exact thing would be if you built a physical product opposed to a non-physical product. You want to get in the community. You want to become a member of the community. You want to become a thought leader in the community. And then you want to explain to the community your value proposition and how you can add more value through your business.
One way that I think is great to look at it is like finding a community that's really passionate. Because once you find something that people are passionate about, so either they like one brand or they totally hate it, for example, then it's easier in a way to differentiate, because you can position yourself as like opposite to this brand. You stand for things that the other brands don't stand for, etc. And then like people are going to be sharing that more. They're going to be talking with their friends more. So, I mean, the goal is just to get the conversation going, and the more people talk about your brand, share with their friends, ultimately that's what makes a successful brand.
I created the group. It was my group, and I was creating it for e-commerce purposes. The idea would be to sell my products. Anything that serves them well. If it was my affiliate link, there's no problems. I wouldn't think. You just wouldn't be spamming them all the time. For me, the rule of thumb is you just don't want them to feel like they're always getting promoted to. You want them to feel like that even if they don't buy anything from you, they're still getting valuable content out of that group. But if you see an opportunity that, wow, this service is awesome, my audience will love this, then you need to share it with them. If it saves them time, it help their business in any way, or help their life in any way, I think you should share it, especially if it's something you believe in. In the groups that I run, and then now the groups I run are more for the teaching people how to sell online. Yes, we don't allow people to post their affiliate links in our groups. We do have affiliate links outside. We have outside services we promote for sure, but it's either, it's after, us as admins are the ones that have reach out to those third-party companies and saying, hey, we have an audience here that might be interested in your services. Can we work out a commission?
One of the fun things, one of the big opportunities right now for new entrepreneurs is things are changing really, really rapidly. So if you got into this game 2-3 years ago, you would be worried about funnels, and basically funnels were like the whole thing, right? We have to put everyone in funnels and everyone's going to get funneled down to some little point, right? So I think the idea of the funnel is almost becoming outdated at this point. And I think people are really starting, like the consumers now, if they're going to buy something on Amazon, they're jumping over to YouTube to check this. They're jumping to Facebook to check reviews there. And I mean, they're just all over the place checking all these different things. So I think the game now is creating, building a relationship with your target customer to where they remember you and your brand however you want them to remember you, right? Because like I sell, organic hair color. So most people are not in the buying mindset of wanting to switch out their hair color. It's a huge investment. It's a huge headache. So how do we sell people in that world, right? We can't just funnel people down. Oh, I was on Facebook and now I'm going to make a $6,000 investment in 3 months of my life, right? So the funnel doesn't work with a lot of these things. And in a situation like that, it becomes value generation and building a relationship. Email is one of the ways you can do that. I do think you have to look at your customer, your audience again, and see where are they going to engage the most. Is it email? Is it a Facebook group? Like honestly, I see a lot of Facebook groups that are probably more effective than huge email lists out there. The key is you have to build a customer list. You have to build a cost-effective way to have that open line of communication with your target customer, your reader, or whatever you want to call them. So if that's email, if that's email, it's email. If it's a Facebook Messenger list, that's fine. If it's a Facebook group, that's fine. And then once we have them there, what do we do with them? Well, we want to engage them and give them huge amounts of value, right? Solve their problems. I think people try to sell too much with these businesses, honestly. If you get into a Facebook group for healthy moms, organic moms or something, and they're just posting about the same 3 baby toys all the time, you're going to stop going to the group, right? No, make an organic mom group or make a email list for organic moms where you are basically like the torch that guides them forward in this world. Like you are showing them the great content. You're bringing in like the big mommy bloggers that they love, and you're doing Facebook Live interviews in your Facebook group with them. And so again, I'm going to the Facebook group thing right now, but it's all the same to me, whether it's an email list, a Facebook group, a messenger list. At the end of the day, it's just a cost-effective way for me to get in touch and communicate with my prospects very quickly on demand, right? So I think you have to build that though. And especially it's becoming more and more necessary with an Amazon business, but with a Shopify business, it's really the name of the game. You can't really run a Shopify business just off of paid ads. And the only way to get people back to your site other than that is get them on a list when you do have them on your site so I can get them back really cheap in the future,
That's where I'd spend money and time on stuff that is going to be evergreen, like communicating within the community and talking to people like that, because that goodwill and that community you're building and brand you're building is something that as you build it, it's going to get bigger and bigger. Where if you keep just spending on, say, Facebook ads over and over again, yes, you're building something bigger and bigger, but you're not building a relationship. You're not building something sustainable, and you're still paying for each individual purchase coming in, which at any point, Facebook can just increase the cost per click. A competitor can come in. If anyone comes in and they offer the same type of product, but just a slightly lower price, since you haven't built any brand equity or any community within your product, they'll just move on to the next product, no problem.
It's the whole social side is still, you can build communities. We talk about building communities off of Amazon. So getting people interested in, like let's say building a dog community. You're not promoting bully sticks, but you build a community that's non-promotional, that has high quality traffic. So that starts with or high quality content. Well, where do you get the high quality content? Create an e-commerce site and make it content based. So it's the go-to place where people go to for your information. So the typical e-commerce site that I build is I always use .club. So it could be bullysticks.club, it could be bathbombs.club, but it's a club. So right off the bat, people think of it as not a .com, but this is more social. So I'll tie that in. I'll have the blog in there. I'll have an area where it'll lead to all their social, but it's an area where people who are like-minded will gather, and then we'll build a community. So let's go back to the dogs. Build a community on Facebook where like-minded people will go and talk about their dogs. So you can start with that, and you'll find that if you have good quality content and you invite people from other dog groups, you can grow a fairly significant community in a very short period of time. The other thing is that now that you have that, and you've got all these people, and you're not promoting any advertising, anything on that, but you've got a Facebook page, now people will organically come over from that page because you're putting out the organic content, and now you're growing your Facebook page where you have a mixture of information, content, curated content. It could be a promotion, but there's different types of content there that people like. And if you slip in a promotion here and there, not a big deal.
I would say the audience is probably the favorite. What's the one that's more? I mean, it's been around forever, but I mean, it's the most effective in my opinion because you're already starting out with people who know, like, and trust you. You've already built that, or you're partnering with somebody who has the audience and that audience trusts them. So I think that's my favorite because you're not trying to pull people. You're not necessarily like, hey, everybody, I'm over here. Come over here. It's just a natural. It's just another way of serving them. If I was into horses and I had a Facebook group of people that loved horses, naturally they're buying products. And so if I was the leader of that group, I imagine they would rather buy them from me than other places. So yeah, I would say that starting with an audience that you already have or partnering with somebody who has an audience would be my favorite.
We've been building our customer base through a Facebook group that we built, and then as well as Instagram. So we've been building a customer base through Instagram, working with a lot of different influencers in spaces where they're really passionate about the product categories that we work in. So we built our customer base there. We also built an insiders group on Facebook. So these are actually customers that reached out to us because something was wrong with their product when they received it. It came defective or damaged, or there was something about it they didn't like. They reached out to us and they were unhappy. We would do whatever it took to make it right for them and make it as easy as possible for a good transaction with us. And then a lot of those customers actually became huge fans of ours because they were very upset. And then once we made it right for them and made it very easy, they were very impressed with the level of customer service and the quality of the product. And so they actually became a loyal follower. And so we reached out to a lot of those customers when we built our insiders group and said, hey, we're building this group and we're going to be looking for, product development feedback. Do you like this or this? As we work through new products, we're going to give you an insider's look at how our products are made and do videos and share insights into a day in the life of developing products and shipping products and bringing products to market, so that you get a back the background of how these things are built and created, but you also get input into what designs end up coming to life. And we take your feedback very seriously, and we use that in developing our products. So it's really fun for those insiders to see, oh, here were the original designs, and the one I picked is actually now live on Amazon and eBay and Wayfair and the other sites, and I had a say in that. And so we have built this insiders group that gets to have, all that background information as well as give input, and it basically helps build the loyal customer base. So then when we want to drive more sales through coupons or through more engagement, we definitely reach out to that group as well as our followers on social media to then drive the incremental sales, launch new products.
If you've created a Facebook group and you've got 500 followers on that group, I guess the way I see it is don't just push content to them. One of the best engagement tactics is to ask them for content, right? So if you're an e-commerce brand and let's say you're selling dog food, right? Instead of you just, like I said, just pushing your content their way, ask people to get engaged, right? Send me pictures of your pet playing out in the yard, you playing frisbee, send me videos of that kind of stuff. Post that, tag them, ask them to give you a little bit of a story. You'd be surprised at how many people you get, that are certainly willing to talk about their stories. So I think that's a good way to keep those Facebook groups moving and interesting. I think the getting it started is the challenge, right? To get up to that few hundred followers or 1,000 followers it's a challenge, but it's worth it because you have a captive audience at that point. You've got a group that is interested in your brand or your products, and if you can keep momentum going there, then yeah, it's a really big thing. And think about collaborative marketing as well. So back to the dog food, or maybe it's pet supplies, right? Are there ways that you can interact with other brands within your group to help promote your product, to help promote that page? Maybe it's maybe it's a brand that you sell on your site. Get them to provide you some sort of content or interview, something along those lines.
Because there was no training out there. 5 years ago, there wasn't any course, there wasn't any software, there wasn't any kind of community to teach, like, here's the best practices. It was very much Wild West, brand new, and I needed to know, and so I went out and figured it out. And ultimately, I started creating conversations. I created, a Facebook group for community just to talk about, like, okay, how do we troubleshoot Amazon pay-per-click advertising, because it was such a pain. And my expectation on that is like, I'll just kind of mastermind, with 20, 30 other people. We've got 17,000 people in that group now. Because it's a common problem, right?
Number one is not knowing their audience. They don't know who their audience is, and they have no engagement with their audience. So they can't credibly speak to their audience. Your goal is to build trust with people. And it sounds like kind of a funny word to use in e-commerce, like e-commerce is all about sales. But really, the companies that do really well, they engage people. They have a very high respect for their audience. They understand them. And their audience trusts them because they've been generous. They've shared information that's helpful surrounding the product. So again, you think about adding value is probably one of the most important things that people do last or not at all. And I'd say that's certainly one of the biggest mistakes that I see people make is they go at it trying to sell and forget that at the baseline of it, what they need to do is give value. And so again, whatever your product line is, whatever industry you're in, get some really valuable information and start providing helpful information for people who are in that industry. Start engaging with them. If you can build authentic, engaging relationships where they trust you, the sales part comes naturally. They want what you have. So not focusing on that first is probably the biggest mistake I see.
Community takes quite some time to build, and it's really important to, in order for that community to be engaged, you need to make sure you send out fresh news, content and stuff to them so they're engaging with you. Now, in terms of the platform, it's really difficult for me to answer. I've only really tried one platform and currently using, which is Facebook groups. I know you could have a community based off of email as well. And those are the only two methods that I actually know of. I'm sure there's tons of other ways of building a community and doing this, but to keep it in one place, to make it yours, I don't know any other methods of doing that. But for communities, I think it's really important to keep asking relevant questions that are problem-based. and listening to your audience when they ask a specific question within the community. Try to make sure that you build on that, you answer questions, and also give the opportunity for other people within the community to answer questions. So I've, in one of my groups, one of my Facebook groups, I've had somebody come back to me and say, hang on, I'm really struggling with this. And it's not the product I'm struggling with. I'm actually struggling with motivation. I've lost the motivation to do this, that, and the other. I've got so much going on. I've got to look after my family. I've got to do this, that, and the other. And I thought, you know what, the best way is not for me to go and sit there and answer that question. If it's a technical question, yes, I can go and answer that question really easily. But I thought this question probably needed a little bit of community support. So what I did is I knew everybody wouldn't see that message. Only a few people who were on Facebook would go and see that message. So in the comment section, I tagged a bunch of people who I know are highly engaged in the group, which Facebook groups actually offer. They tell you who are the people who have been most recently engaging in conversation, who are the people who are most likely to engage the most. And I basically tagged them all in a comment. And within the space of about 6 hour period, I had 10 to 20 comments on people motivating this person to get back on it and do what she needs to do and remind her of why she actually started to do this in the first place. And the amount of thank yous that she gave was incredible. And I didn't say one word within that. All I did was just tag the right people to get them to come on and see the message. I didn't even say, what do you think? I literally just tagged their names. They came on, read the message, saying, hang on, I've been in that situation before, and everybody can relate. When it comes to a community like that, everybody's there for a very, very similar reason. They all have their own individual problems, but they're there for the same reason. They're there to, save time, have a better lifestyle, etc. And every single person came back and gave a really nice motivational speech to make sure that she's back on track, and said, don't worry, it's okay. It's a phase. You go through these things. It's normal. Remember the reason why you actually started. And then they started giving their own stories as well, saying, I remember when I first started, I felt like this, but I pushed through, blah, blah, blah. Now I'm really successful and I'm doing really well. And it's actually changed my life, and I'm still doing more and more and more. And I feel a lot of people within communities who are new to the community may feel that they can't add any value. But if you're that one step ahead of somebody else and somebody asking a question like that, anybody can answer that question. So yeah, I don't know any other ways of building a community, but I think engaging questions and engaging content, again, I keep coming back to that, engaging content and trying to just start a conversation is probably the best way to go. Maybe understanding your audience better is the best way to go. Maybe do some polls so you can understand why they're actually there, what they actually want, what problems they actually have. But in terms of platform, I really don't know what other platforms to use. I know you can yourself engage in places like Quora, Reddit, and there's probably loads of other forums based on the specific niche. So you can engage there as well. And then try and get people over to your community, your specific community. So yeah, that's what I would say. Engage in content again. Make sure you're tagging people who might know the answer and may be able to respond to specific questions to get the community going.
Brands using Facebook groups, and they provide a lot of value, a lot of data, and then they sometimes send coupons through the Facebook groups.
So when you think about different ways to promote an e-commerce business, whether it's on Shopify platform, Amazon, Etsy, it doesn't matter. One of the things you're trying to do is try to figure out where you can get your 1,000 fanatical followers, those faithful, loyal people who are really behind what you're doing. And getting that first cohort of loyal customers is really, I think, one of the first exercises. Some people do that through social media. Some people do that through email marketing. Some people do that through forums and groups.
So a lot of our growth, I mean, we really just started running paid ads like heavily, and we're 9 months in. And so it's taken some time, but we built an audience on Facebook. So we built a group. We provided tons of value in terms of free content for a year plus before we even launched our tools. You can do the same thing with brands, right? So if you're going into the grilling niche, perfect. Go build an amazing Facebook group for that and just add value. And once you're ready to launch a new product, okay, well, now you can go launch to that group. And if you have 5,000 people in that Facebook group, the likelihood of you getting that brand and that product, kind of up and running is pretty high. And it didn't really cost you much other than time. But a lot of sellers want to negate the time part because it's patience, right? And we really have to have patience here.
You'll notice where people are stuck based on the struggles they're having. They'll post their struggles, now I'm talking from the side of the learning how to sell on Amazon side, but it'd be the same way in a group of horse lovers, for example. Just see where people are always asking questions about, man, I can't get my horse very clean with all these products I'm using. I wish there was something out there that did this. That would be a clue. Well, maybe I could make that something that did that. It's just listening to your customers, really, just having an ear, being involved in the group, interacting with them. You could definitely ask questions and try to get that out of them, creating polls or whatever. But most of the time for me, it's just listening to them. They'll tell you exactly what they need by the things they're posting in the groups.
The Facebook group is great for engagement. Like, because a Facebook page, you don't get engagement on it. Like, you have to boost posts to get engagement. But Facebook group is more personal and people like to engage. So if you, there's some people that actually launch their business through Facebook groups because, like, let's say that you do a Facebook group around yoga, and then in the group you share stuff, like, not to, I don't know how to say that for yoga, but you share positions for yoga, tips for yoga, and all that stuff, and then people, like, they keep coming back, and this is going to appear more in their Facebook feed, and you want them to engage. So the goal with platform is always engagement, but Facebook groups are able to get people more engaged, and then just can ask them questions. Also, this is something that I see a lot of struggle with for that certain product. Is that right? And then people share their opinion. Oh yes, I'm struggling with this for that product. Then you can use your Facebook group really as almost like as a research and development group for your products. And then when you launch it, like, people have helped you come up with that product, design it almost, and it's easier to launch to them because they know it's coming. So it's one way to do it as well. And then you can just have a group. Let's say there's so many, most people do that in the digital space where they launch like courses and all that stuff through Facebook groups because the engagement there, and you just provide value. But it's also something you can do to a certain extent with physical products. Maybe a little bit harder, but it's definitely, I recommend people do that.
Looking at a group that may already exist and say, hey, you have awesome information in here. Have you ever thought about providing physical products for these people that they could buy? Well, I know how to do that. I'm an Amazon seller. I've launched several products. You don't have to know anything about that. All you have to do is tell people about it. Say, we're starting a brand of horse shampoo. I'll do all the work. You just tell your audience about it. But that doesn't come and you're building a relationship. It'd be after that, after they see you serving in their audience, providing help. If you're coming from a place of service, you're going to want to be giving them valuable information that helps them. So if I was trying to reach an audience that was horse lovers, I'd go into that audience and provide and start answering questions. What I wouldn't be doing is going into that audience and, trying to put up affiliate links.
Building like a members club, trying to repeat your customers to come back and to different drawings for your email list. So we're adding some new products now, launching some new products, and you just want to really build that following, that the power user club.